All right, folks, welcome to Workflow Wonders. This is episode 1. We're going to be super scrappy here today. Workflow Wonders, we're here to interview business owners in the space, learn more about them, dive deep into their processes, and then workshop together any areas for improvement, whether that's using systems, automation, or delegation to their team and whatnot. If you're a leader, founder, or just someone who loves saving time, this is the podcast for you. First off, who the heck am I? I'm Alex Storey. I'm the owner of Skill Mammoth, a workflow automation firm in Minnesota that has saved businesses hundreds of hours of time. And we're here today with a good friend of mine, Will Dupont. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are and your business.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks, Alex, for having me on. So my name is Will. I own a video production company called DuPont Productions, and we specialize in helping those small to medium-sized businesses who see those great videos and marketing content, but don't have that 20 to 30K marketing budget. We are a small team, and we're able to use that advantage to cut prices for those companies on average about 30 to 50% and have incredible content for either their social media platforms, event captures, as well as their websites. And I'm excited to talk to you more in depth about it today.
Awesome. When we think about DuPont Productions, how do we is there a website? How do we get in contact with you?
Yeah, so just kind of basic website, DuPont-productions.com. You'll see everything there, especially on the work tab. Great variety of content. We're getting to certain big productions that I did for like a company called The Open Door, as well as, again, that social media content, event recaps from everywhere, from technology recaps to lawyers, sales seminars, kind of a whole mix. The slogan of "It Could Have Been a Video" is kind of our company mantra of, if you think this could have been a video, you should make it.
You do all sorts of different productions, from getting videos on social media to kind of more corporate style talking heads video. What is something that's been exciting? What's an exciting part of your work that you did recently?
I think a great example has just been, I always say there's a company I worked with called Green here in Minnesota and California. They're actually a sprinkler company. And the way I got that actually was my younger brother was working as a sales guy there, and he overheard his boss saying, "Hey, we need to get some videos." And he did me a good favor. It's like, "Hey, you should talk to my brother." And they were one who were like, "Oh, we're not really sure. It's a sprinkler. Like, how much can you really show off a sprinkler?" They wanted to show off this cool, like, automated design, but they're like, we have pictures, we have a couple stuff in the past that's still relevant. We just aren't sure. And then I said, okay, we worked out a great plan. We were able to edit some of their old stuff as well and take the new content that we shot and implement it into their marketing, and they loved it. They were like, "Holy cow, I did not know we could make a sprinkler look this cool," considering it just goes up and down and sprays in a 5-yard radius. But it was great. We worked with the local operations manager here in Minnesota, went to his house too, which was great. Didn't have to cut above his yard or anything like that. Didn't have to book a studio. He had it in his house, so he was really appreciative that we were able just to take our crew and come to him. Huge weight lift off his shoulders, and they were able to implement that into their marketing now. And it sounds like this summer, knock on wood, we're going to do the same thing, just a little bit bigger now. We get to do a little installation video, so look out for that soon. So that'll be fun to make. Once obviously the ground unfreezes here in Minnesota, as you said.
Sprinklers don't do much in the cold, but that's awesome. I think that's probably the coolest thing that I could have heard. If you give me permission, I'd love to show the video right here.
Yeah, go for it. You got it up.
Thinking about that and kind of switching a little bit to your role and a work day at DuPont Productions, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, typical work day is really fun. It varies. That's another part I love of my job. Sometimes you have days where you're just going right out the door and you're going shoot to shoot. You have these professionals who are trying to get the content done before 9 or before 8. So sometimes you're out the door at 7 and you're there till 5:30. Kind of depends on their schedule. But the standard work day, I'd say, is I wake up early and able to check a lot of emails too. And that's kind of a big thing we'd like to talk about, is just, I go and scroll through LinkedIn, I scroll through those websites and look at those businesses that are looking to either A, start their social media and content journey, or B, have a strong presence, just want to give it that little boost and kind of see how I can be a resource for them. And it's been really interesting to see some with these cold emails. Some people are like, "Hey, we're interested, we just don't have the money." And that's one problem. Or it's like, "Hey, we just are comfortable where we're at. We don't need that strategy. We just are fine with doing iPhone videos." I'm like, great. It's cool to see and learn about that. And so I'd say that's kind of more of about that 8 to 10. And then a lot of it, again, is going on shoots, scouting locations as well, planning, talking with my current clients, making sure if I don't have any shoots coming up, making sure we're kind of all on the same page and using these videos smartly, not just making them until they can post them once and forget about them. It's kind of coming up with that plan, making sure we're sticking to that plan with their videos, and then executing it in great quality. and then kind of running around the state of Minnesota for all the shoots, and then come back, and usually I try and edit a video or two for a couple hours. And then I always joke that I'm kind of always on, where sometimes I'm working on LC emails, but that's kind of the typical day. And that's something that I really enjoy about having my own business, is that 2 days are similar, and you're able to, time manage it really well and learn more about people's businesses to really make sure they have great content coming.
No, that's perfect. And I love what you mentioned there too about how you're always on. I think that's what a lot of folks run into, especially when they're starting businesses, founding companies, startups, is it really turns into a 24/7 job in a way, right? But that freedom kind of, that really makes up for it. And yeah, so I guess thinking about that typical day, like what would you say your mix is between, we'll oversimplify, we'll say client work, so the stuff that you're actually delivering for clients versus, let's say, outreach, trying to get clients in the door, and then maybe administrative work, trying to make sure, like finances and stuff like that are all, you got all those ducks in a row. Like what's that mix between client work, finances, and I guess sales?
Yeah, I think client work I'd say is about 60 to 75% of the business. And then the rest I'll just do make it nice and easy. 20% is outreach and 20% is that administrative work and trying to make sure everything's in order. The good old taxes. I always joke I got to learn basic accounting starting this and trying to figure out all that fun stuff with running the business. And I think the administrative work and the sales stuff has been the biggest thing, which has been great to talk to you about today, is really utilizing it smartly and being able to use it as an advantage for outreach to businesses, not just scrolling hours and hours and hours and crafting emails, being smart with it. And that's what I've been doing now. And I'll admit a lot of my business currently is word of mouth, and I'm very fortunate for the client referrals I do get. But as we all know, we want to work smarter, not harder. So I think that's kind of a good breakdown of what my business is day to day.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. And I think you settled on a really important point that a lot of folks starting out, you kind of have to go word of mouth because there's really no other option. You don't have these massive marketing budgets. You don't have a dedicated sales team, but you do have quality work. And what that leads to is really good word of mouth, referrals. But you put the nail right on the head there that when it comes to referrals, it's not very scalable. You're kind of dependent on, I cross my fingers. I hope that someone reaches out to a business decision maker somewhere else where they can jump in and they might need video. So that's really good that you're looking at that. And you said were using, so what you're currently looking at, let me back up a little bit. So how are you currently prospecting?
Yeah. So how I prospect is kind of a mixed bag. Biggest thing as I do is I post a lot on LinkedIn, social media, and kind of see who interacts with that. And that's like my first step, is go through those old posts, see who's interacted with it. Maybe they like it because they're just being supportive, which is awesome. And sometimes they like it because maybe they're kind of too shy to message me like, hey, I need some help. But it's always great to connect. That's the first thing, is making sure my internal network is all connected, making sure I'm having those coffee meetings, Zoom calls, just to know that they know what I'm doing and how I can help them, and if they know people. So that's number one. And then number two is my prospecting actually is kind of like we talked about, you're always on, is when you're driving downtown or you're hearing something on the radio, listening to those companies that have those big marketing budgets. If you're local here in Minnesota, you see like those Chris Lindahls and Nicolette Laws with the giant billboards. That just shows me that they have a lot of marketing budget. And those types of companies, even if they're not that big, they clearly care about their outreach. And so those are companies that are a good one to cold email even, or see if you have any connections to see, hey, like I see you're doing this, so you clearly care about your outreach. Have you ever considered video, or are you doing video and you need like a different strategy? Or hey, maybe you have, if you're, example, like a real estate firm, maybe you have a big event coming up. Like, would you like some capture? Because clearly your outreach is important. So I think that's I'd say number two in my outreaching is, day to day driving around, dropping my dog off at, daycare or something, or driving to and from my adult league, like men's league hockey. You see those things. And then third, I would say is I'm live in Lakeville, Minnesota currently, and seeing those companies around town that maybe don't have a presence. Maybe it's a 1 to 2 man auto shop who are looking to grow. They just don't have the time, they don't have the resources. They don't want to hire somebody for, on average, $75K with benefits out of college right now. But they really like these videos, or they really want to be present on social media. Maybe they post maybe just on Christmas. I always call them holiday posters. Well, I post every holiday, maybe 1 or 2 in between then, that's it. And so I reach out to those companies as well and say, hey, I'm local, I'm from the area, I'd love to help you out, just to talk and see, like, this is what I've done for the past, and here's how I can potentially help you. And I think that's a big thing too. A lot of businesses overlook is in their community. Everyone kind of looks towards the big clients right away, but especially if you're involved in your community. For example, I do a lot of work for Lakeville North Hockey, where I actually played growing up, and just going to those sponsors who sponsor that event has been a huge resource in me, just to show them that I'm out here as well, helping them. So yeah, I think that's kind of the big three ways that I prospect.
So you're leveraging your network in a pretty creative way, and you keep your head on the swivel. And I like what you say about kind of looking at the billboards, looking at, you know, the presence of different companies near you, to see if they have like that video presence, kind of keep being in that position to notice. So how are you, other than like driving around billboards, how are you kind of identifying that? Are you going on like Google Maps and like, you know, checking out websites, or, you know, is it like, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, it kind of is like that. Going on Google Maps after, or you see maybe a development of a new, kind of like the strip mall, the new modern ones where there's like a dentist, a chiropractor in there, and maybe like a Caribou Coffee. Obviously not going to reach out to Caribou, but those two family ones, it's like, hey, those are brand new. They probably are trying to look to hit the ground heavy, or they want to show off their new space. That's something, it's like, hey, if you're already doing pictures, I can help you out with the video as well. Or vice versa. Maybe they're not doing anything, and it's like, hey, we have a new location. It's like, you know, I'll reach out to them beforehand. That's been a big reason, big thing why, is seeing what's kind of being built around you. Then also, I'd say, yeah, kind of go in those Google Maps. You can scour through a ton of websites, see how up to date they are. Again, that's where you can find out those local companies. If they're very plain, as you know, with the ever-changing times, video and SEO research gets smarter and smarter every single day. And having some sort of video presence on it has been very, very favored by Google Analytics, SEO. It doesn't have to be all video. It just has to have some. And that's like another selling point I tell to a lot of my clients or prospects is like, hey, you might have a lot of great videos on your phone, which is awesome. I love that you're doing content, and I like that you're promoting it this way, and you have maybe a social media manager. I'm not trying to take their job. Just have one good video so that you can show it. And so when the client does land on that page, they know you are professional, that you care about your company, that you care about your outreach. And then you can have a lot of those to support that main video. And that's kind of a lot of what I do. And then you kind of see those about sections, or sometimes you can see if they have their team on their website. You can message the people on LinkedIn. Again, look for those connections. It can even be something as simple as, hey, there's an accountant here that I know that's maybe a couple years younger than me that went to UMD where I went. And you can message them and say, hey, you know, great talking to you. Maybe have a cup of coffee with them and see what their system is like, who makes the decisions, who's the decision maker. A lot of the time it isn't the managing partner. Sometimes it is the social media manager nowadays, especially with the degrees that people are getting right out of college, that they'd pay them $70K. They're going to trust them to make big decisions like that. And a lot of the times, as long as their job is to make sure the video is in the budget, and if it is and the marketing materials in the budget, they can do it. So it is really fun learning about how different businesses flow, and sometimes different decision makers come out places you least expect.
Awesome. What I'm hearing from you, Will, when you're doing your outreach, there's a couple different things that you look for as far as buying signs. Lots of billboards and just evidence of like a marketing budget is big. And then that could be, and then also when you look at their website, you're not seeing a lot of videos. And then that third piece are like events, so like a new location you mentioned opening up, moments where media is probably going to be helpful, just to kind of be this big bombastic, hey, we're celebrating, we're announcing. That sounds like some three particular ways. And I know you probably have more buying signs that you look for. But awesome. When you notice these things, and when you're reaching out to folks, how many reach outs are you doing, like on a daily or weekly basis on average?
I'd say daily. I'd probably say around 20. The biggest thing is tough for people like me is that it is tough to know what those marketing budgets are. And
yeah,
unfortunately, compared to like when I used to work in commercial real estate when I first got out of college, we had access to software like LoopNet and CoStar, if you heard of those big ones, that mostly told you when these clients' leases were up. So then it was just kind of who's the best at digging out information and calling these clients, and who's the best at emailing these clients. But for that, you don't have that for creative design, whether that's graphics or brand. You don't know when they're looking to do a brand shift, or hey, we're really going to focus on video because that's part of our content strategy, or hey, maybe we're a startup and we just received a grant from the state of Minnesota and we have this 50, 60 grand to do whatever we want with it. You just don't know that. At least that I don't. But I think that's kind of like the big things you look for, again, is kind of going back to that. Is there a presence? If not, what can you do? And the biggest thing I like to tell them is that you get that stigma out of, this is going to cost me like 40 grand a month, or this one shoot's going to cost you this. Like, it can if you want. If you want, I'll go rent a crane from downtown Minneapolis. We can do a cool shot over your company. But it doesn't have to be that. You can do a lot of great content with just a couple of cameras and a couple of lights. And when people have a great experience that my team does, from graphics to After Effects to video production, is really helping out those business owners that maybe can only afford, a couple of grand a month for a lot of content, or maybe only one video, they can only afford maybe a grand or whatever it is. You can do a lot of work just with that amount of money, and people are starting to notice it. I think they just assume that, oh, the iPhone's the best thing I can do, and you can make great stuff, but like any other camera or skill or software, you got to be a master at it to get the best ROI.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and you can see, I only use my iPhone and my old school C920, and wouldn't consider myself a master, but getting content out
But
there.
that's a great start. I mean, even just having that, there's so many clients and so many companies that they want to do it and they just are afraid. I said, hey, look, COVID, I know we don't want to talk about it, but 2020 knocked down that stigma a lot of the time for posting daily content. Everyone thought that if you had to post, it had to be a professional video, and maybe I should have done business back then. I probably would have done a lot better pre-COVID, but I was in college. But a lot of people now are open to what an iPhone looks like, and they don't have really a stigma. Obviously, don't do like your State of the Union address for your company via iPhone, but if you're just saying something like, hey, this is what I look like work from home, or this is like a quick tip I've seen your videos of, this is something that is changing in the industry. Those quick things are really great. I call them like your front line to keep your relevance at the top of their page. Those are great. And then, if you want to take that boost up, you're able to do it.
Awesome. All right. So this leads to, so you're doing 20 daily reach outs. You're looking at all these different buying signs to find potential prospects. You're leveraging your network on LinkedIn. You're leveraging your network, with people that you've known in college and school and your family and whatnot to see where those connections might be, those second degree connections to get you to those decision makers. What is your current tech stack that you're using? Are you using any tools for this, or what does that look like for you?
I currently am not using any tools, actually. I just use word of mouth and email. Again, LinkedIn message a couple of people that I see, especially if they're posting like news of events or something that they just did. Kind of using that connection and going from there. I know there's a lot out there, and I'm interested to learn more.
Yeah, so I'll give you a couple thoughts that came to my mind when you were talking about these different things that you're doing. So first off, I think one thing that could really benefit you to save some time and automate at least a lot of the prospecting work is using tools like website scrapers to basically generate a list of potential leads based on those buying signs. So for example, you mentioned, new locations, maybe different events, maybe like new buyers. You can build various scraping tools using tools like Browse AI or Apify to basically go through all these websites, find those notifications, and give you like a clean list, like a spreadsheet, once a week maybe. And then that way you have like a very, we'll call it warm list of folks to kind of reach out to, because like, hey, these are folks who have new locations, there's new restaurants, there's new stuff that they're doing. Maybe they're pivoting to a new service delivery. Maybe it's a restaurant that released a new, I don't know, bagel or something, right, that they might want to advertise. Or let's say a SaaS company with a new feature or product. Those are all buying signs, and you can use tools to basically just do the busy work for you. So instead of you having to go and look at every single local website that's out there, they can do that for you. You could also have tools like these scrape their social media. So if they have, like you called them, like the holiday posters, you can identify that. Or if they have video already, you can look at that. And even, and this is an idea that I think I took from you, is you can scrape their job profiles as well. So like if they're hiring for folks in media, social media, or in video marketing, you can get a list of those folks, whether it's on Indeed or LinkedIn or other job boards. And then from there kind of be like, hey, have you thought about like support from a third party where you don't have to, like you said, pay that $75K salary plus benefits. So that's one thing that I think could save you tons of time. And, basically think of it as like a little assistant that does all this research for you. And then all you have to do is work from this list to then kind of do that outreach. And I imagine you could get probably double your daily reach outs if you didn't have to put in all that manual work prospecting. Just, okay, cool, I have this list. Let me send out some emails. Maybe let me do some phone calls, and then probably double, triple that outreach, and probably even more if you want to use other tools to kind of scale it from there. But that's, rather than me yapping, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's honestly sounds incredible. And I know a lot of people in the industry that I talk to, the creative side of things, it is tough to do that sales pitch because you don't know what they need. You have done a lot of stuff and you can show them you've done a lot of stuff, but it's hard to be like, hey, there's no deadline for them. and seeing like, for example, like we talked about earlier, they don't have a lease coming up or they need to refinance or something that they can, just do and not really think about. Having content created and taking up a few days to shoot and spending money is a big change. It's something that is a lot of creatives run into. That's the problem. Is there's like, oh, I'll do it later, or I'll do it later. Kind of just like I always joke. It's like when people say they're going to start working out, oh, I'll do it later. I'm going to start making content. Oh, I'll do it later.
Hmm.
And you run into a lot of that. But being able to really focus on prospecting that way just seems honestly incredible because, like I said, it's a lot of custom scrolling and seeing, okay, is this actually what they're doing? Or you see the cursed LinkedIn company wormholes, I call it, where there's 17 different senior vice presidents and one of them is responsible for marketing. I don't know which one it is, and I think there's a lot of great time that can be saved with automation. I mean, I'll definitely, I'm glad this is being recorded because I'm going to have to rewatch this and look into these for sure.
Yeah, and for those of you who are listening or watching here, what I'll probably do is just build out like a couple examples of this workflow and share it probably in the resources if you want to check out like what a potential prospecting automation could look like for somebody in the video production space. So, and you'll get that too, obviously, Will.
Sweet.
So, awesome. Yeah, so that's just from a prospecting perspective, like identifying those kind of warmer people in that position to buy. I think that'll help save you some time. And then the second piece is some of that outreach as well. Like I know you mentioned doing cold email earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There are tools out there that can help you cold email at scale, and using some other tools, you can even kind of personalize it so it feels less spammy than just like, hey, so and so, do you want to buy from me? Using those same kind of those things that we just talked about. The email could mention, hey, saw that you were opening up a new restaurant. I do video in Minnesota. Are you looking for like a promo video or something like that versus just, hey, do you want to buy from me? I do videos.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some tools out there that help you with that outreach because that's the next step. So not only would you get the prospecting, but then the automation could then send out that outreach for you. And that's infinitely scalable at a certain point, where then you're sending out, 500 emails a day, 1,000 emails a day,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And then even if like, 1% of those folks respond positively to you, that's a lot of business right there.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, that just sounds great in terms of like just the scale and the customization is huge. I think a lot of us want to have that personal touch and being able to show that is big. And just being able to, again, dig into these automations and saying, hey, look, you just congratulations on your most recent, I don't know, new location. If you'd like a promotion video, here's this for this restaurant. Or, hey, I just saw you wrapped up your company Christmas party. Or if you have any other events coming up, here's an event sampler I did. I think that's huge just to be able to do that, and scaling it is big because that's, like we talked about, is taking that time. It takes a while to scrub through, as any business owner knows, especially if you're in the creatives where you're trying to break through that door a little bit, especially cold is tough. And yeah, that just sounds incredible. I'm kind of mind blown, honestly, right now.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, and that's great. So I think, yeah, I'll show off some tools here. Obviously this isn't sponsored here, but like I think Instantly AI is a great tool for cold outreach. Smart Leads is their kind of competitor, and they're kind of both on that upper echelon of tiers. Now, I want to say that cold email it's not as easy as just downloading or installing a tool and setting it up because of some of the spam limits and getting marked as spam. You're going to need to buy domains and then buy various email inboxes. So it's not as easy as I'm making it sound, but it is something that, with the right tech partner, or just sitting down and watching some YouTube videos for over a weekend, you can get it set up and get to that scale of what you were doing, like 40 outreach a day, and pretty easily, because that's not a huge scale where you're going to need tons of domains and inboxes.
Mm-hmm.
But and then there's other tools as well. Like I know you mentioned reaching out to folks on your LinkedIn, folks who've liked your posts and stuff. There's other tools that you can use, like Dripify is one that I use at Skill Mammoth, and I've been having a lot of success. The scale, once again, is not very big because with LinkedIn, you can't really send more than 10 connection requests a day. So it's not going to be a ton, but it still saves me time because now I'm not doing it. My robot is, right? So basically, it'll take a list of folks that you want to reach out to. It'll send them connection requests, and if they accept a connection request, it'll then send them some DMs and stuff, and then you'll get a little alert once they reply, and then you can take over from there and then get that meeting booked and hopefully some business. So
Wow,
contacts.
that just sounds incredible. I mean, that's what I do daily is you kind of go through and I always joke is you kind of go through what kind of think of like, oh, what do my dad's friends do now? You kind of have to think it that way sometimes because they're at a lot of the majority of the time, not all the time, are in those leadership positions. Kind of connecting that way is big. But yeah, I think that's a ton of it. Of just scrolling through LinkedIn and seeing how active they are, and then even okay, maybe they have like their email and a website through their LinkedIn and stuff like that. But even just that initial outreach is huge because sometimes you don't know what to say,
Yeah.
especially if it's cold and maybe it's like a business of a business. So like I'm just gonna make something up. Like maybe there's like another sprinkler company or another garden company. It's like, okay, how do I spin the stuff I just did for them and also help out them as well? I think that initial message is huge. If I don't have to take time to think of what it says and not waste my time, it's like, oh, okay, well if they didn't respond back, then they didn't respond back. I can just move on. That just saves a lot of time instead of looking over the message and it's like, okay, did I say that right? Or did I give them a
Yeah.
wrong example? Maybe I came on, was it too early in the morning when I sent them a message at 7:30 or whatever? No, that just sounds awesome. Again, I didn't even know that was a thing. I knew you could do kind of that sales limiter, but I thought it was only for honestly software sales. I didn't know you could do it just for messaging like that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty powerful. I get about 6 meetings a week, which once again, I'm a one-man band here at Skill Mammoth, so that's perfect for me. But the one problem with those like automation tools for LinkedIn is they're not very scalable because it's you get like I said like 10 connection requests a day per account. So unless you have like a massive team and they're all like, yes, you can embed this robot on my LinkedIn, you're not going to get a ton of outreach. But I think it kind of blends that personal element, and in a way, like I don't know if folks know you can automate LinkedIn these days. Their guardrails aren't as up, compared to when they get email and whatnot. But anyway, so those are some options that you can use. Do you use a CRM?
I'm just right now currently at my point, I'm just a spreadsheet guy.
Okay.
I've used CRMs in the past, and especially like when I was doing commercial real estate, we used like Zoho One.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that was a good one because it was tough to, you didn't really have a month, similar to my business, you didn't have a monthly sales thing you had to do or a quarterly or annually. Those were 5-year leases, 3-year leases, 10-year leases, so it was very little, but you still wanted to be in business and contact with them. Same with mine. I think I have it set up for like one and dones, retainers, or constant current thing. And then as the start of the new year, I went back to every invoice I sent out this year and sent them an email and said, hey, great helping, great working with you. Hopefully you liked what you got, and then hopefully we can reconnect just to stay in front. And that's kind of how I got that ear green one, to be honest.
Yeah.
Was just reaching back out because I just was making sure, like, hey, this was really fun. If you need any more stuff, you need a different yard, so it's not the same yard again.
Yeah.
Glad to help out any way I can because that was just a really fun project, and they were like, oh yeah, and that was a good combination where that was a great client to say. I always tell when I talk to other people is you never know what they're thinking because that was a project where I thought it was going to be a one and done type of deal, and I was grateful for the opportunity. And then they really nicely wrote me a really nice Google review, and in the review they said, "Oh, can't wait to do some more content soon." I was like, "That's a surprise. I thought you guys were going to be done."
Yeah.
But then reaching out to them, like, "Oh no, we were really happy. It's just our season's so short, and we just have to take advantage of it. So this kind of goes on the back burner until like, we decide we want to shoot it Monday, and then we'll shoot it on Wednesday. So it's just such a quick turnaround. We don't even think about it until like 2 weeks before." I'm like, oh, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And they were wondering, it's like, now I have an update on my calendar, call John in May when the ground starts to unfreeze a little bit.
Well, that's
Hopefully,
good.
knock on wood.
So yeah, and I think you're doing all the right things, and a lot of people get kind of they get shiny object syndrome. They look at a CRM and think this is going to bring me all the sales in the world, and yeah, it might be a little bit easier than using a spreadsheet, but at the end of the day, what you really need to do is just record who those clients are, key bits of information, who the decision maker is, maybe some dates and lists of activities that you did with them. So that way, once you look back at your database as a business, then you can kind of follow up and be strategic. So it sounds like you're doing exactly that with Google Sheets, being able to reach back out to those, previous clients of yours and nudge them if they want to buy something else. So that's perfectly fine. The reason I asked about this is because, it sounds like you're already doing it, but like, you can use automation to check in for that. So like you can have key dates, like if you write in your CRM or in your Google Sheets, like, okay, we completed our project on, let's say, January 1st. We can have a reach out in like a month to ask how they're doing, maybe get some Google reviews or Yelp reviews or Clutch.co reviews and whatnot to kind of prompt to get your reputation up and get those testimonials, as well as continuing to push them on like a marketing campaign for those key dates. Maybe if you have their birthday, use some automation to automatically send them like a little birthday card or something.
No, that's
Like
smart.
you said, with the holiday times, using that automation to automatically send them, quote unquote, handwritten, messages on the holidays and stuff to kind of keep that relationship there, keep you in their mind as a potential resource. So in that, when they have that shower thought, like, oh, I wish I had a video for X, Y, and Z, they think of DuPont Productions and not just, okay, now I got to Google some folks near me. So
Hmm.
that's what I recommend. Kind of like that account management piece
Yeah.
of with your previous clients
No,
is
that's big. I think you hit the
yeah.
nail on the head there too, where coming from, my studio and my production company is just me, but I have the ability, the reason why I'm able to keep costs down is I'm able to just contract out anything I need. And I have a great resource of, my past life of working in technology and content creation for bigger companies. And you have those great resources, whether it's somebody's, second camera, motion graphics, regular graphics, and that just keeps again the cost down. But yeah, just like you said, that CRM is huge in terms of even if it's something basic. I think my first CRM after like my first 6 months of business was just like 3 columns, and it was just like
Mm-hmm.
who it was, what the company was, and did I reach out. It was just like very, very basic or what we did, and that even helped track stuff where it's like, oh, I reached out on, like you said, I haven't reached out to them in 6 months. I should maybe check on how they're doing. Or that's big, especially if maybe your main contact left for a new opportunity. That's good and bad. Kind of you lose your main contact, but it's good that you should stay on top of their mind because sometimes they bring in that new person who maybe has a video person, or they bring in a person who maybe doesn't like video strategy or content strategy, or maybe your sales platform. Maybe they did X, Y, and Z at their other job, and they were brought in to bring this to there. So that's big. I just think CRMs and having some sort of tracking is huge. Even include, now I've been smart enough to include the LinkedIn messages I sent. There's so many stuff that doesn't get, as you know, people get busy and some people forget to, hey, send me an email to set up a coffee meeting or a Zoom meeting, and you do, and it's like, okay, I haven't heard from them in a month. Okay, I'll reach back out to them again. But if you, don't write it down or don't keep track of it, you lose that, and then it's 5 months from now. It's very hard to be like, hey, remember in March when you said we are going to get coffee? And so much can happen and change. So I always say now, if you are using social media to your advantage, whether it's Facebook messages, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, keep track of those too. You never know where those go to. A lot of people use that. It is social media, but a lot of people just use it just to set up the coffee, and that helps a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that those are great tips, and I think you can see like there's a lot you can do without, like I said, that sticky that shiny object syndrome that folks get when they look at tools. And then, once you plug in automation and software, you can kind of take it to that next level. I guess my final question for you, Will, is when you're looking at your future aspirations, what's next for you and your team for 2025 in terms of improving workflows? And are there like any trends or technologies that you're excited about?
That's a great question. I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to in 2025 for my company is making the business work for me. That has been the big like theme of the year, I'll say. At the end of the day, no matter what I'm doing, make the company work for me a little bit. And that biggest thing of that is automation and a great website, and combining the two to make sure I am being outreach not just in my local community, but just throughout the state and just different areas of expertise, different industries. I've been blessed to have a lot of cool industries that I've worked with: dentists, sprinkler companies, bagel shops, you name it. And you learn something new from each shoot. But now just to spread that knowledge and outreach is kind of the big goal. And that, again, is through automation, through LinkedIn, like we talked about. And I'm definitely going to be looking into those resources you sent already, like right after we're done talking, and helping that boost my business. Because like you said, going from 10 to 20 emails a day to maybe 80, maybe 2 messages on LinkedIn to 10, will just automatically just cast that bigger net to get more fish. And then, hopefully now it's on me to help close a deal and really help, analyze their strategy and see how I can help them through video content creation. And I'm really excited to see a lot of it. I mean, it's cool to see now with short form content. I know LinkedIn now has short form content. When we're recording this, TikTok just got unbanned. And who knows about that platform, but even Instagram Reels, just seeing the amount of creativity you can see through that, whether it's sales, how content and businesses use that content to push their product is super cool. Whether, again, it's Salesforce or Duolingo, the famous one, or you see restaurants making cool things. I'm just excited to see what trend happens and how businesses use it to their advantage. That just makes me excited. And then how can I help them? That's what kind of motivates me to keep making content for these companies.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Will, for sharing your business with us and kind of going into the details of like what you're doing day to day. Hopefully you're leaving with some awesome tips and tricks. And hopefully the folks who are tuning in also found some inspiration and practical tips to kind of make their work life a little smoother. So awesome. Will, is there anything that you want to leave us with? Anything in the world? Any call to actions or things that you're working on that you want the folks to know?
Yeah, feel free to follow. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Will Dupont, website DuPont-Productions.com, at DuPont Productions on Facebook, Instagram. Post a lot of stuff on there, especially different shoots. I think a big thing I'd say, I always say this for any pitch I'm doing, any sort of client, any networking connection, is make it your goal to post something. Whether it's text posts, graphics, a short video, do something because you never know where it can lead. You always joke and you see it all the time where somebody just posts something random of themselves and it goes super viral. And people, I think now, especially a lot of online people, want to see how you're doing. They have empathy towards you as a person. So if you update them that shows like the empathy part of your business, I think that is huge. And you give out that free information and educational content. Just post something, whether it's an iPhone or if you have a professional camera, great. Or if you want to call me, great, I'll make it for you too. But I always joke, just like you can look through the LinkedIn page, I posted a picture of me like walking my dog, and that got a lot of insight because people like to see like, oh, this is an actual person behind here. So I always say just post something, and I'm super thankful that you invited me on, Alex. I've already learned a ton, and I'm excited to see where you go. And here, I'm going to give you a shout out here to end this, is that you've already shown me so many resources and helped me with my clients as well in the automation. So I'm super excited to see where your company's heading here in 2025.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will. And for those tuning in, if you're looking for a free automation assessment for you and your business, go to skillmammoth.com. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could take a moment, leave a review on Spotify or iTunes. We're just starting out, so your support helps more listeners find the show, keeps us creating great content for you. And until next time, keep innovating and making those workflows wonderful. Bye for now, everybody.